Hi, today's story is a bit emotional. It's about a family whose home got burned in a fire, and what they found on the curbside helps them rebuild a new house. So let's read the story and see what happens there. Ethan and Lily Barnes hit their breaking point in late spring in Tacoma, Washington, the kind of place where rain can stop for a week and everyone acts like the sun is a miracle. Their miracle never came. The mortgage was two payments behind. The minivan made a grinding sound every time Ethan turned left, and Lily had a pharmacy receipt taped to the fridge like a threat. Their little boy Owen needed daily meds that weren't optional, and every month the insurance found a new way to not cover something they'd covered last month. Ethan was working construction whenever anyone called. Lily was doing night shift at a nursing home, and they still lived in that sick rhythm where you pay one bill by ignoring another and pray the phone doesn't ring. They weren't lazy, that's what made it cruel. They were doing everything right and still sliding. The house they fought for, the small two-bedroom with the crooked fence and a patchy lawn, was starting to feel like a trap. They stopped turning lights on in empty rooms, they stopped buying meat unless it was on sale, they stopped talking about the future because every conversation ended at the same place. What if we can't? When you live like that long enough, you start looking at the world differently, not like a dreamer, like a person scanning for exits. One morning, driving back from a job site, Ethan cut through an industrial strip near the port and saw something behind the big furniture returns warehouse. One of those places that processes crushed boxes, damaged sofas, and customers refuse delivery items. It wasn't the storefront, it was the back lane, where dumpsters sat like open mouth. And next to one dumpster was a stack that looked too clean to be trash, shrink-wrapped furniture pieces set aside like someone planned to pick them up, plus a couple of taped cartons that still had shipping straps on them. Ethan drove past, then circled back because desperation makes you brave in dumb ways. Lily didn't like it, but she liked foreclosure less. So that night, they went back with gloves, a flashlight, and the kind of shame you swallow when your kid's medicine is on the line. The first grab was furniture exactly that they needed and couldn't afford: a boxed bed framed with one corner torn, two nightstands still wrapped, and a small sofa with a ripped patch on the underside where nobody would ever see it. It felt like stealing from a rich world that would never notice. They loaded fast, hearts thumping, telling themselves the same story people tell when they are concerned. It's trash, it's going to rot, we're saving it. Then Ethan lifted a smaller carton that didn't match the rest, too heavy for its size, no branding, tapped like someone didn't want it opened by accident. When he set it down, something inside clinked, not loose like junk, but tied the metal pack together. Back at home, they shoved the furniture into the garage like they were hiding proof of a crime, then sat on the floor staring at the small carton like it could change their lives or ruin them. Lily cut the tape in one clean pull and folded the flaps back. Inside was a mini safe, the kind with a handle and a key slot, wrapped in a towel and wedged between foam blocks. No key, no, just the safe, sitting there like a dare. Ethan tried to laugh and couldn't. Lily touched it with two fingers like it might be hot. Because furniture in the dumpster made sense, a locked safe inside, a sealed carton did not. And as they sat there in the garage light, listening to their son's quiet breathing through the wall, one thought landed hard and simple: somebody dumped this behind a returns warehouse for a reason, and if it was worth locking up, it was worth someone coming back for. Ethan didn't waste time pretending the little safe was probably empty. He lifted it and felt the truth in his wrists. Heavy, dense, the kind of weight that makes you swallow before you speak. Lily grabbed a flathead screwdriver and tried the cheap key slot like she'd seen people do online, but the lock held. Owen coughed in his sleep through the wall, and Lily's face tightened because every cough sounded like another bill. Ethan set the safe on the workbench and stared at it like it was insulting them. A locked box in a dumped carton behind a returns warehouse wasn't a gift. It was either someone's panic stash or someone's mistake, and either way it had a price. They did the thing they swore they wouldn't do anymore. They went back the next night, not to steal more, but to understand what they stepped into. The back lane was quieter after closing, but not empty. Two men in reflective vests were near the loading dock, smoking and talking low. A white pickup with tinted windows sat idling by the far gate like it was waiting for permission to exist. Ethan kept his head down, acted like he was just checking furniture for missing parts, and felt Lily's hand clamp his elbow when she whispered, "Don't look at them." That's when he noticed the real detail. The spot where they'd found the cartons was cleaned up too perfectly, like someone had already come through and removed the rest. A universe mistake doesn't get tidied, a botched drop does. On the drive home, a new pressure slid into place, not a chase, not a threat, just the kind of real-world squeeze that makes your stomach churn. A black SUV rolled behind them for 3 turns, then peeled off like it was never there. At home, Ethan found a business card jammed into their screen door frame. No name, just a number and a line that read, "I buy returns, call." Lily stared at it like it was a snake. Nobody in their neighborhood advertised like that unless they were fishing for desperate people. The next morning, Ethan took the safe to a small locksmith shop near a tire place, the kind run by an older guy who didn't ask him emotional questions. Ethan didn't say dumpster. He said, "Bought in a lot, lost the key." The locksmith looked at the safe, tapped it twice, and said, "This isn't a kid's lockbox." He drilled carefully and popped it open in under a minute, like he'd done it 1,000 times. The lid lifted and Ethan felt his brain go blank. Inside were stacks of cash banded tight, a velvet pouch, and a small plastic case with coins that flashed dull gold under the shop light. Not millions, but not pocket money either. Enough to change a month. Enough to erase the car payment. Enough to buy Owen's meds without splitting pills or bargaining with the pharmacy. Ethan's throat tightened because he knew exactly what this meant. People don't toss a safe with this inside unless they're hiding it, losing it, or running from something. Lily didn't cheer when Ethan came home. She shut the curtains and sat at the kitchen table like she was waiting for a knock. They counted the cash once, then again, because disbelief makes you repeat reality. It was a little over 20,000. The coins were random junk either, small gold pieces and old silver that a pawn shop would lowball in a heartbeat. Ethan felt that pull of the easy path. Take it, pay everything, breathe. Lily felt the pull of fear. If someone comes back, they claim it and they'll paint them as thieves. That's where the moral line bent. Ethan didn't call police. He didn't report a found safe. He told himself a truth that sounded ugly but felt real. The world had already thrown this away behind a warehouse like trash, and nobody had tried to find the owner until it mattered. Still, he didn't go full reckless. He made one smart gray move. He called the number on the business card and said he had something high value, but he wanted an appraisal first. The man on the phone talked too smooth, too eager, and offered cash sight unseen. That alone told everything to Ethan. So Ethan and Lily played it the only way poor people can play it, quietly, carefully, and ahead of the trap. They found a reputable coin dealer across town, not a pawn shop, and took the gold without the cash. Just to hear a real number. The dealer's eyes widened for half a second, then he got polite and careful. "This is real," he said, "and you should think about why it was hidden." That night, as they drove home with the gold still in their bag and the cash still hidden, Lily said the sentence that made the whole story tilt. "What if the safe wasn't thrown out?" she whispered. "What if they dumped here so someone else could pick it up and we grabbed it first?" Ethan didn't answer, because the fear in his chest already knew the answer might be yes. Ethan and Lily didn't go back to the warehouse a third night. Once you realize you might have grabbed a drop meant for someone else, going back is how you end up face to face with the wrong kind of owner. Instead, they did the desperate thing people do when they still have a little sense left. They moved first. They hid the cash in 2 separate places in the house, kept the gold off site for one night at Lily's cousin's place, and told nobody else. Then Ethan called the number on that "I buy returns" card again, not to sell but to listen. The man answered on the first ring like he'd been waiting. He offered a price before Ethan even described the item, and he pushed hard for a meeting today, not tomorrow. That urgency wasn't business, that was panic. The pressure got real in a normal, terrifying way. A clean-looking guy showed up near Ethan's job site the next afternoon, leaning on a pickup line. He belonged there, asking casual questions about where Ethan lived and whether he did side hauling. Nothing threatening on paper, but the tone carried the message, "We can find you." That night, a woman from their neighborhood texted Lily asking why a stranger had knocked on the door looking for the Barnard's family. Lily stared at the screen until her hands went cold. They weren't being chased, they were being tested, like someone trying doors to see which one opens. So Ethan and Lily made the choice that kept them alive and still let them win. They didn't call police and they didn't have the safe back. They turned the fine into money fast but clean enough that nobody could freeze it later. They sold the gold and silver through the reputable coin dealer in 2 transactions, no drama, no bargaining, just wait and cash out. They converted most of loose cash into cashier checks at 2 different branches under Lily's name and Ethan's name, using it to pay debts that couldn't be undone. Then they paid the bills that had been strangling them in the exact order that changed their life the most: the mortgage areas first, the minivan note second, the medical balance third, and Owen's pharmacy account cleared to zero so the next refill wouldn't come with fear. The call stopped after that, like somebody realized the price had turned into paperwork they couldn't grab. The returns buyer number kept ringing Ethan's for 2 days, then went dead. The clean guy at the job site never came back. The stranger who knocked on the doors in their neighborhood vanished the way he'd arrived, leaving behind only the thick feeling of how close it got. Ethan didn't feel proud of every step they took. He felt relieved, and in their world, relief was the closest thing to peace. By the end of the month, their life looked like someone else from the outside. The foreclosure threat was gone, the van stopped making that grinding sound because they could finally fix it right. Owen's mans were stocked without Lily cutting doses or stretching days. For the first time since the fire, Lily bought groceries without doing math in her head. At the register, Ethan stopped taking every extra shift just to survive and started taking shifts that made sense because survival wasn't the only setting anymore. The biggest change came 6 weeks later when a small house 2 streets over went up for sale. Nothing fancy but solid, safer, closer to Owen's clinic. Ethan and Lily did something they never would have dared before. They put money down, not because they became reckless, but because the safe had given them the one thing they'd been missing for years: momentum. They didn't just catch up, they moved forward. On the first warm Saturday of summer, they took Owen to the coast for a day trip. No big hotel, no luxury, just the ocean, a cheap motel, and a kind running on sand with lungs that weren't fighting him. Ethan watched Lily laugh for real, not the tired version, and he understood the true payoff. The safe didn't just buy furniture or pay bills, it bought back their future. And even now, if you asked Ethan whether he feels guilty, he'd tell you the honest neighbor truth. I don't know what the safe was meant for. I know what it did for my son, and I know I didn't steal it from a person's hand. The world threw it away behind a warehouse like garbage. I just refused to let my family get thrown away with it. This is the story. Interesting. Hard to read in some moments, but I hope you guys like it. Please leave a comment, share your thoughts, and if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. See you next time.